Hey everybody, this is Kevin and welcome to stages 21 and 22 of the DeAgostini Lotus F1 Formula One car. This is going to be a fun one, folks, because we are going to be introducing these guys into the build. That's right, we're going to bring power to the car. I'm not sure exactly what all is entailed in this first stage, but we're going to be testing out the wiring that we did on the last episode. And we're going to try to make some noises and maybe bring some lights on or do something interactive. So looking forward to it. So without any further ado, let's start building. Okay, stage 21, as you can see here, it involves a battery box, which is exciting because we get to put batteries in there. And that looks like a speaker of some sort, I'm assuming, but I'm not quite sure yet. And it looks like we have a red light, possibly, and the circuit board that's going to control all of that. So let's go ahead and get this open and get right to it. I'm excited to bring life to this car. Okay, nothing else in there. Doesn't look like we have any screws or anything to do. Maybe just plugging in wires and making noises and lights. So yeah, there's our battery box, our speaker, circuitry, light. So let me go ahead and clear the board and we'll get right into this. Okay, now the way they did this was pretty cool. The circuit board, if you look, notice here, it has a letter, let's see if it'll focus, a letter A right there, B, C, D, and E. So each one of these plugins has a letter associated with it, and that's awesome because each of these devices has a letter. So for example, this little speaker here is letter E. So that's going to plug into the E port. Just like that. Then our battery box is going to be in port A. So let's get that turned the right direction. Okay, that plugs right in. Okay, that's actually the first two steps, and the third step is we're going to take, they're calling it the tail light. So let me unwind it. Comes all twisted. It's a pretty long one too, my goodness. Okay, so unroll it. And this is letter D. So our tail light is going to plug into this port right here. Okay. Now the moment where we get to plug the batteries in. Okay, let's take our battery box. I've got two AAA batteries. We'll go ahead and insert them. Okay. Now the switch here it's probably in the off position. We'll okay, it says to turn it to the on position. Okay, we're on. And now we need to plug the car. Let me get to that step here. I skipped a step. I'm going to turn this back off. I'm going to go over to the car. Let me roll the car in here. Got all ahead of myself, got excited. Okay, I'm going to take the board. Now, if you remember the tail light, and I believe it was the engine, were plugged in last episode, so I'm going to plug this in. This is a letter B. So we'll plug this into B. And this should be C, yeah. Okay. So now let me turn it on. Let me get my tail light here and the speaker. And let me turn the switch on. Okay, so we are on. Now let me get a small screwdriver and we're going to push these buttons here. Let's see which button does what. Okay, the 20 L. That's the top right button. That should be our tail light. So let me tap that. Ah! We got light. And does it stay on until you hit the button? Okay, so hit it once, light comes on. Hit it twice, light goes off. Okay, now for the sound. Let's see if the speaker works. Can you hear that? All right, let me turn it off. That's pretty cool. All right, so everything passes the test. Now I'm going to have to obviously reconfigure the wires so we get things tucked in and put in the right spot. But so far, so good. That wraps up stage 21. Let's clear the board and get ready for stage 22. Okay, stage 22 is going to be the fuel tank sending unit. So we've got some fuel valves and some components that are all, you know, strictly fuel related. Looks like we even have a fuel cap there. So let's go ahead and get into this pack. There are some screws and some fuel lines, so that's always fun. So we've got some screws. Okay, we'll get the package out of the way and let's see if I can't open this without sending little parts flying everywhere. All right, there we go. Okay, so let me sort through it and figure out what we need for step one, and we'll get right back to building. Okay, we've got our face plate here, which is basically the unit top plate. And we've also got the little actual sending unit. And it's got these little tabs sticking out the bottom of it. And two little same shaped holes on top. So we're going to slip that into position right there. Pressure fit. Okay. Pretty tight. Now we need to attach this to this opening right here, but from underneath. So I'm going to very gently rotate the car over. And let's see if I can do this without making a disaster. Okay, we're going to drop that into place. And yeah, they fall right in. Okay, so I'm going to take an screw. Okay, we're going to thread that in. Let me set the car on the front a little bit so I can get the screwdriver in. Tell you that one drop of oil actually does make a significant difference. It threads in so much smoother, and you can tell you're not tearing things up. Okay, let's roll it back over and see what it looks like. Perfect. Okay, we got a bunch of small parts here. We got little valves and fittings that need to plug into the 3 holes that are back here on this back plate. The first one is this little part here, and the diagram shows that the fuel nipple is aiming to the left. So I'm going to set it in and rotate it in that direction, like so. Okay, then we've got these two very similar looking pieces. Looks like the one with the blue cap okay, the one with the blue little cap here is in the middle. So we're going to fit that in facing more or less downward toward the rear. Okay, pressure fit, nice and snug. And then this other one plugs into the right of that. Okay, we'll rotate it into position. Okay. And then we want to take our oil tank and cap, which is right here, and let's orient this in the right direction here. Seeing if it goes any different way. Yes, okay. Little half moon, let me see if I can focus on that little half moon post on top. And then the cap has a half moon hole. So we're going to align those up in the same orientation, and it just plugs right into the top. So there's our oil can. And this whole unit is going to plug into the back here in the center hole, right like so. Just like that. Okay? And now there's these two fittings here. They're on a sprue. You're to take one of them, so we'll snap one of them off like that, and it plugs in. See if I can figure out which hole it goes. This goes in the bottom left hole here. So we'll plug that in that way. That's a little loose. So let me get a little bit of glue, and I'm going to glue that in so it doesn't fall out. 1 second. Okay, I've got some gel super glue, which is going to be about right because this is just, it's way too loose. So I'm just going to put a dab of glue on the fitting. And we'll slip it into that hole. And we'll just let it sit there for a second to harden. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do the same with this oil cap, or the oil tank. It was tight, but I prefer it a little bit tighter. So let me go ahead and put a dab of glue on there as well, and slip it back in. There. Now I don't have to worry about it coming off. Okay, so I'm going to let this sit for a few minutes and dry, and then we'll get to working on inserting the fuel line. Okay, now that the glue is dried, we're going to take our fuel line here and we're going to attach it to this fitting that we just glued down here at the back, little bulkhead. And let me slip it over the fitting. Okay, and then it comes up and it plugs into the side fitting that angles out to the left. So let me come in from the side here. I'm going to take my tweezers to help pressure it in. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so that wraps up stage 21 and 22. So that wraps up stages 21 and 22. And I can't really show you the electronic portion of what we did because I've already disconnected all the electronics. But I can show you a close-up of the fuel tank station that we just set up. There you can see all the fittings, the fuel line, there's our oil tank. So there's a good overview of the whole region right there. So again, that wraps up stages 21 and 22. The car is really starting to grow now and it's getting heavier and heavier, so that's a good sign. So with that, I'll let you go. We will see you next episode in a couple weeks with stages 23 and 24. Until then, God bless, and we'll see you next time.